Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. Neil Pickup, the fat lad, with you in the mother fluffing house. And once again, I am joined by the Bama Bull, Justin Big. Ladies and gents, if you haven't seen the first part, the second part of this interview, I'm going to put the links in the description. Get yourselves back there. Check those out. One of the US's foremost middleweights. And I use middleweights with a little bit of tongue-in-cheek there because you're foremost wherever you want to be, really, in those lighter weight classes. Either lightweight, middleweight, it's really your choice, Justin. And before we get the show rolling, because myself and Justin just been talking a little bit before we got on live, strange times in the world right now. Very strange times. Some dark times out there. But I think one of the most important things is that arm wrestlers, as a community, realize what we are, that we are a community, that we are people who share a common interest. And I want to start the show by just giving a shout out to one of arm wrestling's own, who's in a difficult situation at the moment, battling cancer. Randy Chamberlain. This is to you, brother. From myself and Justin, we just want to let you know that you're not on your own in this thing. We've got your back, mate. We've got your back. We are wishing you the very best of luck. And that doesn't just come from your boys in your local team, in your local club, in your local association, in the US, in Canada, and all around the world. People are behind you, mate. And we wish you all the very, very best of luck with this thing. Your health is, it's the goal. It's what it all comes from at the end of the day. What it all comes from. Now, that segues in a little bit, I think, just into something that we were talking about before we came on air. We've done a pretty in-depth review of your career, mate, but one glaring omission, probably which should have gone into the first show.
Yeah, I thought about that.
You want to just enlighten everybody on exactly what you said to me prior to us getting on air, mate?
Yeah. Well, when you was telling my childhood and so forth, and I just left out that big part. I don't know why it slipped my mind, but it also plays into why I think I was a angry kid, along with everything I said in part one was I started having epilepsy when I was about 2, and it grew worse, as I got older and matured on up into my teen years. And I don't know, it was like, why me kind of thing, but you have 3 main kinds, and I forget the scientific name for them, but the kind I have is like what they call a grandma seizure, and it's kind of the worst out of the 3, where you just have you just pretty much fall out in convulsions. And at first, when I was below 10, it was just this side of my body would stiffen up, and I might fall on the floor, but I'd never go unconscious. And I remember watching my brother a couple times when I'd have him, and just watching his face, because I'm completely here. I just can't control my body. And that's a scary ass feeling too. But, it didn't help me. It always made me feel even worse because I could see how much it scared them, But and especially when I hit my teen years, it kind of we had to go to doctors all the time that swap medications because I'm gaining weight and I'm going through puberty and all of these things. So I would go to Birmingham, and we'd stay the weekend, and they wouldn't give me medication and stuff to do all these tests and, trying to figure out exactly what's going on. And to this day, they really don't know. There's several things they thought it was. Like, they thought it was exhaustion at first. Then they thought it was when I got too angry. Then they thought it might have been my diet. I still don't know exactly what it is. And I contribute a lot of my mental strength to this, having this, because I could feel them coming on a few seconds before I would actually have one. So, in my mind, I would think, it's not happening. I'd talk myself out of it sometimes. And then other times, it just wouldn't work.
So it was possible to actually negate the convulsions by almost willing them away somehow?
Well, I won't say 100%.
On occasion.
Yeah. I mean, it could be one of those times where I just felt like I was going to have one, and I wasn't going to have one at all to begin with, and I just convince myself that's what it was. But
did you feel sort of a sense of panic or fear when you thought?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
I mean, I can imagine it's bloody terrifying, Justin. I've never had anything like that, but
well, like I can remember being in high school and sitting in the desk and feel it coming on. Like it would be a tingling feeling all the way up to my right side, all the way up to my head, and you'd have 5 or 6 seconds maybe, and you're just gonna be flopping like a fish. And I remember this one time I was sitting in the desk, and I just got up and I ran out of the room, and all I remember is looking at the lockers. And then I went out, and when I woke up, I was on the stretcher of the ambulance going down the stairs. And what had happened as soon as I got in the hallway, I had one and fell into the lockers. And it's one reason I can't go bald, Neil. I got too much going on up here to be bald. But yeah, I mean it was it made me really not like doctors. It made me because, they would convince you this is the problem, and then, obviously wasn't the problem, or it wasn't a solution, or what have you. But, I just felt like, I don't know why that slipped my mind. It's probably because I've got it down now to where as long as I take my medication every night, I'm fine. I haven't had one while I was awake, conscious, walking around in probably 7, 8 years. But occasionally, if I forget to take my medication, I'll have one in my sleep. But I'll sleep for like 20 to 30 hours solid after that. Like I've never been so tired in my life. And they get worse as I get older. That's what scares me, honestly. That's why I make sure to do these certain things. Yeah. Because I got too many kids not to be around. And but they definitely have gotten worse. Like the last one I had, I felt like somebody hit me with a sledgehammer for about 2 days. Mm-hmm. But, and something similar, it's always made me worry about my children, because sure. It can be hereditary, and I'm not sure if mine is or not, but my son had
he's brand new, isn't he? I mean, he's only a baby.
Yeah, he's 10 months this what is it, October? Now he'll be 11 months on the 25th.
11 months.
Yeah. So, but they do all kinds of tests when they're first born, and they did several tests, and they come back with one test saying that he was positive for VLCAD, which is abbreviation for this long ass word. It's pretty much where you have a fatty acid deficiency, where your body doesn't burn certain fats. And so anyway, we had the test done 2 more times, and it come back negative. But to be 100% sure, they have to do a skin graft and send it off, and it has to grow cells on it, and then they analyze the cells. It's a big, a long waiting process. And, after about 3 or 4 months, me and my wife both are, we're stressed out with 3 kids, and we're constantly worried about this, and I just, every time I get to that situation, I kind of fall on my faith, lean on my faith a little bit, and I just pray about it, and I would do that for the first month, and I still felt the anxiety of, worrying about my son. Is he going to have to deal with something like I dealt with my entire life? I don't want that. And I finally said to myself, I was praying one night, and I said to myself, you really can't believe that God is going to handle this for you if you continue to worry about it. So at some point you have to, just let it go and believe that whatever's going to happen is going to happen, and it's going to be, it's going to be the good Lord's will, and you're going to deal with that, so you can't. That's something recently that I've been experiencing, and we just got this information about 2 months ago that he was negative for everything.
No, thank God. I'm so pleased to hear that, mate.
Yeah. But that was just something when I was watching the first 2, I've been binge watching your show lately, so I had to make sure I didn't sound too retarded in the first 2. So, yeah.
Mate, I wonder with things like that, there's a couple of things I'm going to pick up on there. One of them was going to be on my agenda for the show anyway. And that was the topic of mental strength, mental prep. and a couple of angles that I wanted to run that with you. But maybe there's something there where you've, because of the fact that you're managing this with medication now, or you're able to manage this with medication right now, that you compartmentalize that, because something as scary, grounding. I mean, it's anything health related like that is a reality check for you, and and at some stage in our lives we're all going to go through it at some point. It's almost inevitable. But for a young person like that, you say you had it from 2 years old.
Mm-hmm. That's when it first started, showing signs. There was points in my life, and I don't ever like to say things like this, but there were points in my life, especially at later teenage years, that I was just living for the day, because I didn't, knowing I have this and just the way my life was going at the time, I was like, might not see tomorrow, so we might as well do this today kind of attitude, much different from the attitude I have now. But, that, I don't know, that kind of thing does things to you, makes you angry about certain things. And, especially for a young person to deal with stuff like that mentally, and, very, very little guidance in that area, because nobody I knew, had, even the doctors, they're like giving me pointers and stuff. And I'm like, well, you're not walking around falling the fuck out, Yeah. I'm doing that. But, I learned to deal with it, through, my wife, my faith, and arm wrestling, really,
Remarkable. Well, as I say, the mental strength thing has always been something that I think anybody that's ever watched you arm wrestle, or certainly that's ever met you, Justin, and I don't mean met stage personas, met sort of, your 5 minutes before or after an arm wrestling match where your head's over there, and I'm talking about when you're relaxed, maybe when you're with your family, because you're a different guy when you're with your family. You're very secure. You're very, it's a good way of saying it. You're very paternal. Yeah, you're very paternal, and you're very grounded, very real when you're around your family. And you've got a lot in common, in my opinion, in that scenario, with a guy you faced most recently in RVJ. Mm-hmm. Because Rob is very much a family guy as well. There's two Robs. There's Rob, who's still that wild young man. It's in there. It's buried in there. It's never going to go away.
No.
That aggression's in there. It's there. It's why you do what you do. It's why we are where we are. But that man, when he crosses the line and his family's there, and I've noticed the same with yourself when you've been there with your lady and your family, you're a different hombre, just a different guy. There's a persona change. There's it's quite cool.
That guy, I agree. That guy will always be there. The other guy you referred to had to grow out.
Mm-hmm.
He had to mold that guy out of some of this other guy. And those three things, though, definitely made, family, faith, and arm wrestling. I contribute a lot to arm wrestling because it gave me something, probably much like Rob, gave me something to channel that energy towards, give me a different goals other than work or family goals, So,
do you get nervous for arm wrestling matches? Do you get scared of arm wrestling matches ever? Do you put pressure on yourself in arm wrestling matches?
And every scenario is a little bit different, but for the most part, I get more worried. I won't use the word scared, because I get more worried when I'm expected to win, rather than when I'm the underdog. When I'm the underdog, I use the same kind of motivation, you know what I mean? The same kind of, I remember this comment or that comment, but when you're expected to win, it's a different kind of drive. And, That's why I always like going up after. I'm like Roy Jones Jr. when he boxed. When he won one title, he wanted to go on up because it's a different kind of drive, and I enjoy the drive when I'm the underdog versus when I'm the man. But it definitely, I needed that arm wrestling part of my life to build on Justin's so to speak, rather than the Bama Bull. I needed that. Both my wife really helped me out with that too, because I legitimately don't care what a lot of people think, and as I get older, obviously that matters more than you actually know. So she helps me with a lot of that. But I definitely prepare mentally differently for those two. But like, I don't know. I feel like if I can deal with certain things that's come throughout my life, that this is just an arm wrestling match. At the end of the day. Now, I like to get a certain energy going before I compete. I found oftentimes when I go to these smaller tournaments, when I'm not even putting pressure on myself, I tend to do better. The only thing I think I would say I am better at when I put the pressure on myself is my speed and small calculations, But I think, I've been working on that too, because I think that's a downfall to my endurance is I get too amped up, My heart rate's too high. My adrenaline dumps too quickly. So I practice.
It's a fascinating field. Fascinating. I mean, you're big into your fight sports. I know. We've talked about that a lot in the past, and I think there's it certainly fascinates me. The whole psyche of sporting endeavor and other endeavor, and that chemical change in your mind where the fight or flight thing, I don't know what it is specifically. Yeah. I can't. But what I will say is, in my experience, I've always gravitated towards sports that are visceral, that are a bit nuts. Yeah. I mean, when I started obviously in motorcycle racing and fighting, arm wrestling different. It's funny because one of the things that I always draw parallels with, I remember the first time I ever fought in a competitive match, and I was up for it big time before I got to the venue on the day. And I remember when I was backstage on the day of the fight, and I was thinking, fuck.
Yeah.
I don't think, like, there was part of me that was like, yeah, here we go. And I was excited to do it. And then there was another part of me that was like, just before we went out, I didn't want to go out. Mm-hmm. It was a weird thing, you know what I mean? Like felt adrenaline, much more than when I was actually in the ring, weirdly. When I got out there, I wasn't as bad. But the 1 hour before, mm-hmm. I was like one half of me wanted to run out of the building. And here's the thing. 4 fights after, felt same fucking way.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Arm wrestling, never had that.
Well, the walkout for me is, and the bigger the competition, obviously, the more nerves you get. For me, anyway. So when I go to these local events, compared to W.A.L. events, it's the same. It's like going to a practice for me. But I've learned over time, when I go to the gym, I like to listen to heavy metal and get my heart rate up and mm-hmm. train real hard. So I found that I can't do that prepping for a match or, an hour before the match. I have to, I'll play some 90s rap. It's usually just what it gives me that confident, smooth feel, but I'm not jacked way up here to where I try to get that Devin Lorette mindset. If you watch him, he's just enjoying the moment. I've done that before and it helped. You just try to embrace the moment. That's, what I'm going through my head.
Is there any bravado? Is it all real 100% or are you projecting something? Because here's the thing, right? Going back to what I was saying a minute ago. I sort of figured in my mind, there was a number of reasons I stopped fighting, my mum being the biggest one, because she didn't like me fighting. And she'd never come to one of my fights and didn't want me fighting. And my dad was like, yeah, your mum don't like you fighting. So you need to be, you know.
Yeah.
And that was in my mind. But also, I was never over, I loved the fight, but I didn't like the preamble and all that shit.
Yeah.
But the degree of concern that I had, nerves about it, whether it was that I was getting pumped full of it when I got home, you know what I mean? Like my mum and dad would be on my ass about it, and maybe that was something. I don't know, because I was young. But when I was arm wrestling, one thing I will say is that whole feeling, that adrenaline dump, that whatever it is, it's almost like I think you get addicted to it or something.
Oh, for sure.
In a weird way. Because sometimes now I missed that feeling. And I didn't like that feeling at the time. So I don't understand what really went on. But I definitely have moments when I'm watching a fight or I'm thinking, there's a bit that you want to do it, you know what I mean? And that's the weird thing. Now, motorcycle racing, sometimes if you had a real moment on your bike, you know, you do in a race and you'd nearly lose the bike and you get away with it and you look back and think, holy that was close, that could have come, that was bad, you know?
Yeah.
I remember once we were in a motocross race, I lost, two guys in front of us lost the bike. I'd just come over a jump, and while I was in the air, I noticed these guys are pretty much where I'm going to land. And I'm fucking there, I'm committed.
Right.
The bike one side of me, and it happened, you know what I mean? I don't know whether you've ever raced bikes, but I'm there. Anyway, as luck would have it, I land on basically the front wheel. My back wheel comes down on the front wheel of a bike that's on its side. And it's an unusual landing, and it kicks me all out of shape, throws me up onto the bars. My legs hit the bars. By the grace of God, I don't fall off. But right. A mate of mine had it on video, and as I'm sort of getting on the tank and it's throwing me off a little bit, another bike lands half a foot from my shoulder. Like, right past me, you know, comes down. And I remember looking at the tape of that afterwards and watching it with my dad, and we were both like, Jesus Christ, it like turned you white watching it, you know what I mean? It's like, that could have been bad, because as I landed on my bike, it kicked me this way, and this other guy just literally straight past my head and neck, over my shoulder, and he came down. Hurt. Now that used to scare the shit out of me afterwards, you know? With arm wrestling, I was so obsessed with proving it and extremely confident in I could. I sort of didn't get that. I've seen many shows and many people have said, oh, if you're in any sport and you don't get that nervous, you're lying. There's something wrong with you. I really didn't. So
I can relate to that. That's almost exactly how I feel. Like I don't. That's why I didn't say the word scared. I don't worry. Maybe that this may happen or I might not execute something correctly. But like fear never really. I mean, because at the end of the day, I know in my mind I'm not dying. Worst that can happen is I break my arm or pull my bicep tendon, and I'm gonna go to work the next day. Whereas stuff like you're talking about, you might not ever wake up, So I've become to adapted to that feeling so much that I analyze the situation like that, and I know that there's no life-threatening thing here, so I'm not really scared. Now, I think the fear or the scared might be because you may be scared of getting embarrassed or scared to lose, which has never been something I've been concerned with. But
in which case, the pressure is going to come ultimately from within you, innit? It's you that's you're concerned. Yeah. It's almost like you said at the beginning with the worry, the worry's not going to assist you, God's not going to assist you, nothing's going to assist you. Cut the worry out because it's sort of useless endeavor. What's that worth? Nothing.
It's all on you and your preparation and your execution. And I've seen guys, I know guys that turn their social media off for days on end or weeks, so they don't read certain comments and get emotional. Honestly, I think as a society, we're just emotional big crybabies for the most part. There are very few real men, like my wife tells me all the time, you don't have any feelings, like, then, then she says some shit to hurt them, and I'm like, over here, but I don't know. I think mental preparation is a big part of it, though, and you got to be prepared on every level. I've seen the greatest, I won't say the greatest, but some of the strongest, best arm wrestlers have trained with me, and I feel them. I've felt, almost every 200-pound arm wrestler in America, and I know where this guy is, but when it comes go time, he's just not the same guy. He's just,
so many, mate. So many. It's ill. I can't remember. We were on the fix the other week. I think it was Paul Lynn came out with that one. Said, you get the guys that are training every week. First to arrive, last to leave. Kick the shit out of everybody on the training table. But then they're always training to do a tournament that never actually comes. That guy, and I think that is a very, very common feature within arm wrestling. It's funny. Have you ever heard of a poem called "The Station" by Robert Hastings?
Is that the one you shared? You shared.
No, that was If Rudyard Kipling.
Okay.
If. Okay. Now that because from what Justin's told you there, pre-match, post-match, again similar with Rob. Myself and Justin talked about the mental thing, which for me is massive, and I know it is for you too. But the idea of the poem, The Station, Robert Hastings, if you've never seen that poem, check it out. It basically talks about fear and doubt being twin thieves that rob you of the moment, of the opportunity. And that's something that I share with my sons from a sporting endeavour perspective. If you're concerned about, scared of, creating pressure upon yourself because of what might be, you've got to try and get a grip of that and just let everything go. Let it all go. If you're going to win, you're going to win. If you're not good enough that day, shake the guy's hand, go out of dodge and train harder. It's not the end of the world. But I think that psyche is critical. And it's funny you mentioned Devon earlier on. I used to laugh myself sick. You'd read stupid comments from people online, and you'd read something, and it'd say something like, Devon Larratt's a coward. Or, what the? I mean, put it this way. What Devon Larratt did for a living, I wouldn't have the balls to do that. That'd terrify my ass. If you said, you're going to go, you're going to go to war, you're going to go to do this, whatever the hell, you're going to get shot at. Jesus Christ, if you go paintballing and you get shot at, it's a bit unnerving. If you're going to get shot at by people who are highly trained professionals, no man that's a coward's doing that.
Well, not only that, you talking about the mental stuff there, man. I've had conversations with him, and he'd be on tours for months at a time, and I'm having conversations with him like, mentally, how do you deal with that?
How do you deal with that?
Yeah.
I shit myself.
Yeah. So coming to arm wrestling, I mean, in front of a couple hundred people, I mean.
So what?
Yeah,
it's like Toy Town by comparison. Toy Town.
It goes back to what you said. You put the pressure on yourself, and that's with obsession. If you obsess over something, you're gonna a lot of times overthink it in certain areas, and you have to reevaluate it. I always like the week of a match for me. I don't do a whole lot, so I do speed drills, I do setups, and I do mental work. And mostly what I do to prep my mind is just completely forget about everything really that I've been working and redo the thing, so I don't throw any unnecessary things in there. Because if you're prepping for a match for 2 months, you've thought about everything and then some, and usually, what if never happens. You know what I mean? So, I mean, you want to be prepared for what if, but afterwards, what if doesn't matter. You know, so you can only, my confidence comes from my preparation. And like you said earlier, it's not, I know I can be this good and I want to be this good. And that's what drives me. It's not necessarily, something I have to do or money driven or anything, obviously, because there's not a whole lot of money in it.
No.
But, you know, I want to be the best. And that's ultimately what drives me. And you see in those comments, like you're talking about, people saying that to Devin is, it used to drive me. Now it just kind of, I get a laugh out of it. You know, I watch these podcasts and stuff like that, and that's what usually drives me now. You know, on my lunch or when I finally get the kids in bed, I'll pop one on and listen. And you know, it keeps me motivated. Like I listened to your guy you recommended me, your 54 guy. I don't want to butcher his name.
Mindogus.
There you go. And I see he had to correct you a time or two, so I wasn't even going to try.
Mate, when we went on the call, first thing I said, look, because you with Eastern European names, in fact with anybody's names, but just the Eastern Europeans particularly, some of the pronunciation, some of the alphabet's different in some cases, not in Lithuania, but in Russia, you know, but the pronunciation can be completely different. Poland's amazing for that, you know. If you look at like Wawrzyniak, you know what I mean? And you look at the spelling of it, you know, Marlena Wawrzyniak. The first time somebody's, you know, you're at Nemiroff World Cup and Marcin comes up to you and he goes, there you go, there's your card. And he'll give you, so there was one guy called Hmelevsky. His last name was Hmelevsky. If you saw that written down, I challenge anybody to know that said Hmelevsky. It was, I mean, you might as well have been Rumpelstiltskin. I could not tell what that said. So I take a pop at it. I said, what does that say, Marcin? And he's like, oh, that says Hmelevsky. And I had to literally write on the card, Hmelevsky. Because there's no way. And a lot of the time, years went by at the Nemiroff Cup, and I'd get a list of names. Sometimes I hadn't been, I'd been at the venue, but I had other engagements through the day, so I'd seen the guys compete in the day, but I wasn't paying attention to stuff. I'd get there, I'd finish doing voiceover work or whatever it was, 30 minutes before the show started, and they'd give me a list of names, which were always all Eastern European, and names that just made no sense whatsoever. Like, there you go, crack on, you're out, and we're live on TV. Good luck, Chubbs.
Yeah, that's what you get the big bucks for.
Jesus. So when I came on with Mindogus the other day, the first thing I wanted to say was, look, because I called him, you know, I was like Mindaugas Terasaitis.
Yeah.
Like, how do you say your name? And he says, well, it's okay, but it should be, the Min should get the, you know.
Yeah.
And I mentioned Adesanya, you know, Israel Adesanya.
Mm-hmm. And
he says that it should be Adesanya. And everybody in the world, including Adesanya.
Yeah, I was gonna say that Israel Adesanya guy, and then I was calling Khabib, is it Nurmagomedov? Yeah, I was saying that wrong for like 3 years.
And what's the connect? It's Habib, isn't it? Habib Nurmagomedov.
Yeah, just like George, out of Florida, George Masvidal. It's not George, it's Jorge. Mm. Yeah. So, but everybody calls him George because it's spelled like that. But
it's weird, isn't it? When it's so, for me, it's just one of those things. When we do the strongman events, I'll always say to the guys, "You tell me how you pronounce your name. Say it 3 times, you know, and then I'll try and memorize how they say it." And sometimes the guy will say to me something like, "Look, this is how you really say it, but you know what? Don't worry about that. Just say it anyway." And sometimes I'll say it their way, and then I'll go back to saying it the normal way because you catch so much shit. I'll be walking around an arena and some dude, I've been speaking to them backstage and he's told me how he says his name, but the guy on row 2 knows better.
Yeah.
So I'll be walking around going, you're saying his name right. And I'm like, mate, I've literally just left him. He's back there and he told me how he says his name, you know? Yeah. So you got to give up and just crack on with it, you know, it is. But it's nice if you can try and get the names right at least, you know? So anyway, we digress, mate. Mindogus, what did you think?
I mean, he looks legit. I mean, between you and I don't think he's quite big enough. I mean, if we met at, you know, 70 or something, maybe. But, you know, I mean, I don't know. Any European, I love arm wrestling Europeans. For me, it's almost like a prize box that they're all good. And I just pick one, because I'm gonna get a enormous amount of followers after I beat this guy, guaranteed. And even if the Americans, don't think that highly of it, a lot of them don't know who this guy is. I don't know a lot of them. I don't research them most of the time because I don't have time anymore, and secondly, because I'm most likely not going to arm wrestle them in the near future.
Yeah.
Hopefully, but until somebody tells me otherwise. Like I got a match with Ali. There's another guy. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. In December the 5th in Idaho, left-handed. We were supposed to do it August of this year in Canada, but obviously we couldn't do that. But I'm gonna go on Ryan's show later and talk about that a little bit. But
is that Habidaya?
Yeah, it's something like that.
Oh, yeah, dude's solid. He can pull. Yeah, that's a good match. When you pulling him?
December 3rd. This couple weeks out. Yeah,
that's an interesting week. Strong.
Yeah, I feel pretty good. Between you and I'll give I don't know which show will be out first, but I'm gonna say the same thing. But I think it'll be easy money. It's just me, and that's no disrespect to him. I just don't see a one-dimensional puller beating me, especially when you hook and you're shorter than me. So it's just not. You think
you match well with him?
Oh, definitely. And I think the best lightweight hooker left-handed I've already beat. So, and that's, to me, that's Eli Sedova, if I said that right. But left-handed, he won 2017 lightweight left-hand the year I went up and pulled middleweight. And he did it pretty convincing. And I went like 2 or 3 weeks after, it might have been a month after that, and beat him 3-1 in a super match, left-handed. And he was prepping for Zloty then, so I know he didn't just like take off afterwards. But that's one of my most impressive super matches because that kid was stronger than me that day, and I still beat him. So
interesting. You mentioned that as a lightweight prospect that's got a left arm on him. No shit. This happened. I get a message. In fact, I'm gonna see if I can show you. I'm gonna see if I can show you, because I'm not down with sharing the DMs or anything like that. But this is just interesting because there was nothing there, no sort of nothing bad, nothing good, nothing anything else. Just gonna screenshot this first of all. We'll go through the process and edit it down. Yeah, so there's no DM stuff or anything like that, but this is just purely and simply a fan of yours, Justin Bishop. A fan of yours, brother. But it's interesting that you just said what you said. Because can you see that? Let's have a look. Can you see that?
Yep. All right, mate. Hope you're well. This is Bishop's episode 3 coming out soon. It is.
Now then, could you see on the avatar who that was?
Looked like Holland.
That's Tom Holland.
Yeah.
A fan of you, mate. A fan of you. A genuine fan of you and a fan of the show. And he was keen to know when the next part was coming out because he's been listening. And he said, "Oh yeah, I really rate Justin. He's a dude."
Yeah, we got to kick it a little bit when he pulled Janis Amolins. I think I was talking about it a little bit in the last episode, and he's got a good solid. I've been watching his training videos. Him and Frode, they got me wanting to do some of it. I've been too sore the last 2 weeks. I started doing some real heavy lifting along with my weekly practice. I think I'm gonna have to knock the practice back to 2 a month to be able to attempt any of those lifts. Cause,
I must admit, it's good. I mean, I don't even train anymore, and it made me want to go out and lift some heavy shit.
Yeah. See, people like that, I mean, don't get me wrong. I get jacked up on the shit talk, right? But that's more fun for me. Shit like that, seeing a guy like Tom go in here and curl 150-something pounds, for reps, that has me motivated. I'm like, shit, I'm strong as Tom. Let's go in here and try this out. You know, I mean, that's me motivated though, and I like how they're keeping it relevant. You know, not many people are doing that, including myself right now. Keeping arm wrestling, you know, on the spot right now.
Yeah.
You know, because there's not a lot going on, obviously. But I'll say this: if we had something going right now, like the UFC does, we would be getting a shit ton of views because nothing else is really. I mean, the NBA's been tainting viewings the last couple games. NHL's doing the same thing. I think the only thing is where it's normally at is the NFL, and I haven't watched it in like 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
I watch UFC, any MMA, and college football, and that's about it.
Yeah, and college football's big over there as well, isn't it?
Yeah,
are they back playing? Have college football started over there? No.
Yeah.
It does.
This will be the third week.
Okay.
Third game, and it's going to be a short season. We didn't have any out of conference games because some of the conferences didn't want to play, and because of the COVID stuff.
I'm taking it this is behind no crowd, behind closed doors, usual.
Well, they got I want to say students in the, you know, they got to be so far apart and all this other stupid shit. But yeah, and I'm gonna tell you, to be 100% honest, Neil, I was like, you know, there's so much politics in all of this stuff right now. I'm not even gonna watch. And I'm probably the biggest college football fan, you know. And I even said to myself, you know, I'm going to turn it on, you know, I'll flick it off or whatever. I got home and I turned on the game, and Alabama scored a touchdown, a 48-yard pass, and I flipped out. And I couldn't control myself. I was like, fuck politics, you know. I'm watching my boys play. And
fair enough,
they are on fire right now, too.
It's nice to get any sport done, though. You know, it's a bit of normality. I know it's not normal because there ain't the crowds and you can't go and cheer them on properly or anything like that. But just watching some sports better than nothing. You know, it just makes you feel like there is an existence, there is a world out there. Because the sooner we can get past COVID, I mean, I can't wait. My God,
man, I'm telling you, I'm ready for stuff to go back to normal. In my part of the United States, the Southeastern Conference area, we're the only state that hasn't lifted the mask mandate yet. Like every state around us has, which is unusual because we're a very red state. We're usually the first ones to do, you know, things of that like that, and the last ones to do what everybody else, you know, is doing. Mm-hmm. So, which is good and bad, but that surprised me. But I'm so ready to go sit down somewhere and eat without all this crap. You know?
Yeah. Just a bit, mate. Just a bit. I think it might be a while, though, Justin. The good thing is, though, mate, that it'll allow us to get a few more of these done in the evenings. We can get there in the morning over there, where, you know. But we're at 46 minutes. And I feel like we're only just warming up, dude. We're just warming up. So, ladies and gents, that brings us to the end of this particular episode with the Bama Bull. Myself and Justin probably going to knock another one out right now because we're not done yet. But if this is your first visit to the Supernatural Strength channel, you know what to do. Like it, share it, and get your ass subscribed, guys. You know what? We've been doing this now since March, and I think I'm about 5.3 thousand subs, which is not a lot of subs, but I want to say a massive thank you to all the guys and the girls out there that do support me, do support the channel. You know what one aspiration is? I keep getting so many messages, and this is for all the guys out there that are messaging me about merchandise, okay? Arm Wars jerseys and all the stuff like that. I'll tell you this. When the channel hits 10,000, the Arm Wars jerseys are coming back with a bang.
I need one.
They are coming back. If this thing ever gets to 10,000 subs, that's going to be the first thing that makes it big. The long sleeve and the short sleeve, they're back. The subliminal shirts, we're going to get them back. So you heard it here first, mother fluffers. And I want to just dedicate this particular episode to a boy, Randy Chamberlain. Mate, the arm wrestling world, all over the world, is behind you. We wish you all the very, very
brother.
Ladies and gents, we'll see you again back here on the Supernatural Strength channel. Till that time, take it easy, please.